Okay. Well, it is finally time for Dragon Quest. Now I gotta do the funny reviewer thing where I grab the game off the shelf. Because that's what we do. Oh no, it's missing. You know, if I had a nickel for every time one of my games went missing, I'd have 2 nickels, which is weird that it's only happened twice. I've gotta go and get my game back, one way or another. No, we're going home. We're not doing all this. Now, let me start by saying that I absolutely adore this game. I've been out of the loop of the series for quite some time. It wasn't until 2021 that I first played and beat my only Dragon Quest game. Now, sure, it's a little bit tropey and very typical for your anime RPG, hell, most games are. But there's something that just kept me going the entire time, and I was happy to see more of. And that's the lovable cast of characters. And the hero too, yeah. I'm not really going to cover Mr. Cardboard Cover over here. I don't really care for him. He's just your silent protag, that's the chosen one, yada yada yada. But the rest of the party's great, and that's not biased towards a certain character, you know, brought to us by Toriyama-sama himself. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Now, normally I'd cover a game, but I want to do something different, you know? I mean, if you play this game, you know how long it is. There's no way I'd be able to cover it without the video being like 2 hours or 2 different parts. I got other stuff to do, okay? Those Yakuza Platinums are calling my name, dude. Anyways, I want to set off an adventure on my own, talk about each individual party member, and go over what I think about them. Simple as that. Oh, and of course there's spoilers here, so if you haven't played and are interested, leave and come back. You know, I don't want to ruin parts of the plot for you, because there's some good stuff here. Especially once you enter Endgame. That said, let's set off for the world and the people of Erdrea.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Alright, so first stop on our little trip here is...
Twins, Basil.
Why am I doing them at the same slot? Well, they're essentially 2 sides of the same coin when you boil down to it. They serve the same purpose of being the protector of the luminary of legend, you know, being like a weird pseudo-separation 2 parts of this ancient sage known as Serenica, but, you know, they're a lot more green or unprepared. From the beginning, they show them as a little bit incompetent in their own way. They're not bad at what they do, but, you know, one of them gets kidnapped, and the other gets transformed into a child through some simple magic. So, you know, they aren't exactly ready yet. Which, I mean, can you blame them? Like, have you seen their village? The fucking place that looks like Greece is all sheltered and closed off. It's up in the mountains, for God's sake. But if you think their personalities reflect that, well, that's a bit of a half-truth. Serena, the younger one, actually reflects a bit more of this. She's definitely more timid and has that naivete to her when you first meet her. but she's actually very sweet and approachable, which compared to her older sister Veronica, she's very more brash and more fuck you bruv, definitely scaring off more people, even some of our party at times. And that's especially effective when, you know, she appears so small and nobody takes her seriously. Luckily, both tend to embrace more of their opposite sides a bit. You know, Ronnie becomes more chill and open, and Serena at least a little bit more abrasive. Which, you know, that's just how they learn, become part of who they're meant to be. Well, at least one of them. And, yeah, if you know what happens in the second act, then yeah. But aside from that, both Ronnie and Serena become both the strongest offensive and passive magic users respectively. Hell, Serena was a big part of my survival for a large majority of the game, being my main healer throughout even most of the endgame, despite her piss-poor defenses and attacks, physically. And every now and then I used Veronica, mainly to blitz bosses, especially as a secret boss. Oh my god, that's fucking... oh, it's so strong. I wouldn't say it rivals something like a Black Late Mage learning Meteor in old Final Fantasy, which is my only frame of reference. I don't really know what else to use there. But with how many separate parts most bosses have, having a powerful AoE, able to do about 1/3 with the right setup, is very ideal. My only issue is that I wish they had more to their character, cause they really come off as too basic, always serving their story purpose with little to no nuance. I can't really say more about them as a whole. But, I mean, just throughout the adventure, I mean, I had some fun with them. They're not the worst, they're just very basic. I got nothing else here, let's move on.
Why don't we see if we're still the luckiest guys in the business, huh?
Now, Erik was not the kind of character I was expecting going in. As a thief character, most portray them as swarmy, very untrustworthy, and man, do they try it for a bit. I mean, you find the guy in a prison and stage an escape within like the first 30 minutes of the game, but you shortly realize he's actually very trusting, a nice guy. He follows a code and is more of a lovable rogue than a criminal of any kind. He's your bro-type character. Starts as your first party member and the one that'll be there till the end. He's actually more of a dork than anything. Like, Manus tries to be charming, but a lot of the times he fails. Aside from his dopiness of sorts, he's just a reliable dude. Normally one of the ones to take action and help someone when the situation calls. He also debatably has the highest damage output with his multiple status and stacking skills at his disposal. Surprisingly for a thief, I rarely used his stealing skill, which isn't his best stuff. My favorite combinations are the moves that put enemies to sleep or poison, and an attack that does increased damage to sleepy or poisoned enemies. It's so good. The fact that they even gave him this is just overpowered. Combine that with skills like a Shadow Clone Jutsu or Oomph, Erik can easily hit around 1,000 damage per turn. And I really underestimated that part of his playstyle for most of the game. It's only once I got to the post-game and started learning more about it that he became a boss and a crowd destroyer with all of his different weapons, and especially his weird boomerangs that he can throw multiple of. You're dual wielding? Oh my god, it's so good. But what I truly love about Erik is his backstory. It's definitely the most interesting part of his character. See, as kids, him and his sister Mia were on the run, you know, knowing only the life of thievery, as children do. And, well, they were part of a little guild, but they had no respect within it. So, one day, a necklace is brought back, and it's said to bring them great riches. But when Mia puts it on, it basically inflicts the Midas touch on her, consuming her in her own misguided greed. Erik ever since then has had a sort of survivor's guild and has been secretly looking for either a cure or someone to help, as a way to atone for the Sib he couldn't save. It's not until the second act that this even gets introduced and, well, we even get to see her again. She's been transformed into this golden monster, portraying her greed, obviously, and need for gold. And, well, Eric's obviously conflicted about having to confront his sis, which, after that, he has a new conviction of stopping evil in his tracks to create a new world for the two to live in, and it's quite endearing. I really like it. I was surprised, and it's a great part of him. I just hope that Treasures doesn't ruin this part of the character for him. Oh, please God, be that way.
Why don't I give you a crash course? My foot crashing into your face.
Next on our list is Jade. Debatably breath of fresh air compared to our last person, but there's still something here. Jade's very pretty.
You're hot!
And she uses that to her advantage in battle. It doesn't come off as too cringy or fan servicey. I mean, that's just how it goes. They really only show it off in battle for the most part. Jade's another runaway of sorts. More like a wandering martial artist traveling the land with her companion, whom we'll get to shortly, trust me, searching for the Luminary themselves after a tragic event in the past. Because you see, Jade's actually a princess. But she doesn't give a shit about being prim and proper with tea time and biscuits. No, she wants to kick the shit out of people. Basically. And when the Luminary was born, a big attack happened that basically destroyed the entire kingdom where he was born. Jade basically helped him escape, with the queen and the king. Send him down the river, much like Moses, hoping nobody would find him. And then joins us near the ascent of Act 1. Yeah, she joins pretty late. So, well, remember when I said her looks didn't come to play too much except for battle? Well, meet Booga, average simp to Pokemon and another one of the big shadow lords throughout the second act of the game. He's all about lust, and even puts Jade in the bunny outfit, because of course, Japan does that all the time, and for some reason the world thinks bunnies are sexy. I don't know, I don't get it. She becomes cursed for a bit until the party comes to find her, and then she breaks free from her sexist curse, which is pretty cool, I guess, but, in before Persona 5 comparison. Jade has some early to mid-game damage that's pretty helpful. Compared to most other members, she fades out relatively quickly, especially once you get more moves for your party. She's a lot more RNG based for some of her good moves, but despite that, she can still put out some astounding numbers. She becomes a massive asset when you're grinding for experience against stuff like metal slimes. I feel her charm is only good if you want to stall for buffs. It just depends on how you use her. I say her best weapon's the spear, obviously. I don't only like Jade for regardless minimal uses in battle, but, I admire strong-willed, though often cold, personality. And, well, the fact that she plays a big part in the hero's story and origin. Like, aside from the next character on the list, she might have the biggest involvement yet. I just wish that she had more development. But, when your character is strong woman who don't need no help from no man, you take what you can get. Also, apparently Japan doesn't know how to write women, aside from they're pretty, do the thing. That's it. It's sad. Moving on.
Ballyhoo like you and your box of balls.
Rap is probably the most important party member in the game story-wise. Mainly because he has the biggest connection to the hero and the world itself, just in a general sense. First of all, he's your grandfather. Yeah, just let that set in. He's also the former king of Dundrasil. The kingdom where you were born. And after that tragic event I mentioned not long ago, he decided to travel with Jade as wandering travelers, hoping to find our hero again. He has the personality of someone who takes things seriously, but for a good reason. He's normally laid back, but now understands the consequences of being too laid back. He still has kind of that chill demeanor, but when it comes to steel thyself, he's normally one of the first voices to take a stance in a fight. Even when trapped under a spell where he spends a near-perfect life, he knows he doesn't want to leave, but finally has to buck up and snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. He also has his, one vice.
Pornography.
Yeah, he has that Roshi personality to him. He's got some softcore erotica. The only way they know how, with bunny suits. He picked up a little bit of this while training with his dommy mommy Master Pang, and like, I mean, do you blame him? Like, really? Like, come on, look at her. I mean, what? Now, Rav in a fight is very versatile, only matched by that of the hero, able to use all manner of weapons and both offensive and defensive magic, making him the second best magic user and healer in the game. He does have a few skills and spells that others don't, but nothing too special outside the Kamehameha. And I guess the Spirit Bomb, if you want to technically go that route, but whatever. He plays a bit of a support role better anyways, basically being a backup for me whenever Serena's turns past, she's MIA or, dead. Healing, buffing, charming, for stall, the whole shebang. He carried me along with Jade throughout most of the mid-game, even some endgame stuff. Where he falters off is, I feel, his so-so stats in a few areas. If you can make him work, then more power to you. I certainly did. He's got the complete arsenal fit for a former king, and, well, I don't know, I just like the fact that we get an old man that, like, is able to fight and he's not useless. Yeah, no, that's pretty great. That's just about it.
Incredible! Issue 1 of the Ogler's Digest. And in mint condition.
Okay, so number 8, as people call him, and as I call him here, is none other than Hendrik. By the time he joins, he was a former knight of the Kingdom of Heliodor. He's a bit dense and stiff, almost like a bit of a himbo, if you will. Also being one of King Carnelian's most loyal soldiers and second in command along with his partner Jasper. He showed up multiple times throughout the first act, tried to kill us under the king's orders. Much like your Virgils, your Jetstream Sams, or your Yashas, but without much of the nuance or being involved in a bigger way.
Hey, that's a half-truth.
But once you learn the truth of everything, he basically changes to be on our side, trying to help us out and regroup with the party when we had no one else. Which creates a bit of a conflict amongst the team at first, they're hesitant to let him in, especially after they fucking tried to kill him. The only people who trust him are Rab, Jade, and Sylv. Because, they all know him personally. And, well, Hendrik himself is a good way to do a hero turned villain. It wasn't just him being manipulated or exploited by pure stupidity, like most stories do. He was, actually betrayed. Kinda. See, the main villain of the game used the king to, exploit the father figure aspect of the king to Hendrik. So, he controlled the boys. And it makes him a little bit more of a tragic anti-hero of sorts. You even get to fight Jasper later, and it's really sad because, you find that Jasper is like a brother to Hendrik here. Good old Henny Wenny. Seeing him have to go through his found family like that is actually kind of sad. Even after all that and joining the team, he's kind of a ditz a little bit. The personality of a board in some cases, but with a bit of mystery since he's getting used to his new resolve and a member of the Savior's team, He's not very well in the ways of the world, only the world that he knew. Now, in battle, Hendrik has probably the second highest attack output in the game, debatably even the most, depending on how you use him or what you use. He just has very high stats and high damaging moves by default, even being able to wield one of the most powerful weapons, an axe. He instantly became a part of my team once I figured out what he could do, and he works well with many, if not all, of the support characters, which I had at least one of in the party. I just love destroying everything in my path in one turn, being a god of destruction. That's just part of the fun. And, well, that should basically cover everything about Hendrik, but now, oh boy, now it's time for our final stop, and I saved the best for last, baby. Oh boy.
You don't, honey. Not unless you want to carry those clothes home in a bag.
Sylvando is the gift from God I never knew that I needed. And I wish that was a joke. But the minute he showed up to get involved in the plot, I absolutely fell in love with this man. Originally showing up as a traveling circus performer currently in the town of Gallipolis. He's got a few allusions to his name. He's heralded as some kind of legend, you know. He's the final showman in the act. It's once we leave the circus that we get a bit more of him. You know, he competes in a race. He lets on more than we think he knows. Soon joining us to help the prince who got captured and trying to find a monster, we see how capable he is with a sword, actually putting on a more serious tone as opposed to his normal one. Then, he joins us on our journey, and he is an absolute blast. He steals every goddamn scene in the book. I'm not even kidding. Wait, the book? No. Every scene of the show. I'm stupid. Now, from initial introductions, I was worried to say the least. It was just the way that he talked, you know, it's very, problematic. You know, like that kind of Will and Grace, How I Met Your Mother, unfunny kind of thing. That, like, won't fly nowadays. You know, that early 2000s type, ooh, honey, yeah. You know, that thing. It's very flamboyant, but it won't fly nowadays. But Sylvando makes it work. The actor who portrays him does a spectacular job with just about every line. I mean, like, come on. He chews the scenery and vomits it back out to make something wonderful. I kid you not. I smiled every time he was on screen. He's always a positive light and kind of has a jokey tone to him in any encounter, as well as actually being kind of smart, or at least observant. More often than not, whenever there's some kind of situation or mystery of a character that's pretty obvious, you just see him smile, cause he knows. He knows what he was cooking. Not to mention, they may have given Sylv some of the best development in the game, hands down. Cause you see, Sylv ran away from home to join the circus. His father wouldn't approve of it because he wanted his boy to be a knight. You know, in an obvious parallel, I know, but it works. The entire time as we're traveling, he refuses to go into a place called Puerto Valor. And we don't find out why till later. It's because his dad, Don Rodrigo, who's basically the mayor, lives there, you know, and he doesn't want to see him. Not out of spite or hate for his father, but out of shame. And also because Sylv was a knight, born under the name Norberto, trained by the Don himself, and with Hendrik. He didn't want to return home until he learned what it meant to be a knight and accomplish his goal, you know. But he shows up anyway and confronts his father, telling him of his new ambition to make the world smile. Oh, shit, I glossed over that. Right, okay, so beginning of Act 2, Sylvando gathers a troop of people to make the most fabulous band of merry men ever known, hoping to bring back smiles to everyone and everything that fell to darkness. You know, and everyone there just acts like Sylv, and it's fantastic. You get a new costume. Okay, meanwhile back
up the plot.
So we're back to the father not approving of his performer son. The Don's actually both impressed but disappointed. Impressed by his resolve to come back home despite their troubled past, but disappointed because he came back before finishing his goal. You know, it's not the bad kind of disappointment. Don Rodrigo actually supports his son. And, well, now he has the resolve to help him and the team in whatever way he can. It's nice to see, and kind of takes you for a loop when you watch the scene itself. Probably one of the best parts of the game next to Erik's pass. But, how's he fare in battle? Well, Sylvando's all about flash and support, with some attack, and you can kind of just play him however you want, to be honest. He was a must on all my teams, able to buff, debuff, small group healing, charm, stun, status ailment, and even some of the stronger sword attacks. He's got it all. It's kind of unfair sometimes, which makes sense as someone who shares traits of the Luminary class. Not to be confused with the hero known as the Luminary, but the Luminaries, often called dancers or superstars in other games, are all about presentation! And my boy knocks it out of the park here. Oh, and did I mention that he can summon his LGBTKO squad to run over a crowd of enemies? And that he owns a boat with a strongman wearing a pink suit? We stand Dave in this house, okay? He's great too. Like, everything about Sylvando, his character, his abilities, all of it. I just love it. I love it so much. Like, even more than the others. He's honestly my favorite part of the game and the reason that I wanted to do this video to begin with. He became one of my favorite characters ever, like joining up with the ranks of like Majima and shit. I love this man, and I believe in Sylvando's supremacy. No kidding. Well, that certainly wasn't the video you expected now, was it? And kinda not the video I expected it to be either. I wanted to talk about this game in some capacity, but you know, like, I don't want to talk about the entire game. There's like way too much. And like, I would have just talked about the characters for the most part anyway. Like, that would have taken up most of that video if I did talk about the game anyways. It's because this ragtag group of weirdos, while based on cliches, are more better written than I thought. You know, they had me entranced, and even though I didn't have much to say on each of them, I at least found them interesting enough to keep me going, you know? And it may be due to the fact that it was my first Dragon Quest game I finished, but if that's the case, damn, what a great way to do it. I implore all of you to play this game at some point and you haven't. And if you have made it to this point of the video, what the hell are you doing? Why'd you make it here? I literally spoiled a good chunk of the game and I warned you, but fuck it. Still play it. You won't be disappointed. Just have a lot of free time. You'll definitely need it. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go make something else. I don't know. I gotta decide on what I want to do.